The movie, the game.
Alone in the dark, illumination.
Oh, God. What is so illuminating about it?
It's Alan Wake.
It sure lit up my depression.
You were like, wow, an Alone in the Dark game in my years of playing video games. And then you bought it and you were like, wow, I'm having an existential crisis.
I didn't even buy it. I saw the first few minutes of footage and was like, whoa, what a nothing this is. What a whole lot of absolutely nothing is going on.
You want to talk about something that's not a nothing?
Evergrace.
Evergrace.
Very do.
I'm gonna let you open this one up because I feel like I'm gonna be the one with the negative things to say today.
I
love it.
I hate to disappoint you. I love it too, but I hate to disappoint you. I am not entirely in love with this game. It's dated, like a lot.
I think the dating of like the mechanics and the landscapes and stuff gives it charm.
Yeah, it's got its own unique to itself vibe, but that's not quite what I'm talking about. There are certain areas where you can tell an NPC has one too few polygons, where you can see a billboard texture clipping over something else. I mean, there are just so many minute things that show its age to somebody like me.
So this was unrecorded, unstreamed. I just had this experience and I wanted to share it with the podcast and everybody. Uh, when I initially loaded up the game, you know, the first guy that you find by the gate,
Yeah,
he never left his sitting animation and was just floating around.
no, it's beautiful.
And
So that's
I
mark of quality.
and you know when the monster appears and he pounds on the door and he's on the
Yeah.
other side, he was like T-posed kind of, but still in his sitting animation in between the gate. And I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna start a new game.
Man,
But you're right.
beautiful first encounter.
You're right. Like you're right. Like you could see in Evergrace, like they were heading towards Dark Souls, right? You
It
can
is
see that.
it is a product of its time for From Software.
Oh, absolutely. It's 100% that generation style of RPG.
What did you think of the combat throughout the game?
Uh, you know me. I like to break mechanics and cheese
Yeah.
things. So for me, it was really easy to just figure out the three weapons I needed and then just break the game's build. That way I was maxed out in those three classes.
When I went through it the first time, I had all the time in the world, so I gave myself a really raw experience. Didn't cheese, didn't farm too much, just kind of went through it like at a casual pace, like I would anything else. And I found myself getting so in tune with the abilities, the combo abilities, and just how they worked when it was appropriate to use something.
It was, yeah, I do like that. You want to know what this game could have benefited from so much?
Uh,
Rolling.
yeah, rolling would have been a huge advantage.
No guarding system, just rolling.
That
So
would have been
good.
way better.
So good. Oh, but it's been
Rolling at the
22
time would have been
years.
like rolling at the time would have been equivalent to like Zelda rolling.
I would have been okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, like I I, I don't want to spoil it, but we will be doing Zelda soon. Um, but when we did our conversation between Zelda and Evergrace and our conversation of RPG elements, I do see your argument a lot more now, how Evergrace portrays itself in the RPG stats. You have RPG boards, you have magic spells, you have this intense customization with the clothing. And for
Down to
that
the
time
color of
period,
your clothing.
yeah. Well, and then you get to the end of the game and it becomes more relevant. It becomes a mechanic. And I was just like, as a mechanic designer, I was like, genius.
Way to use everything at your disposal to
Right.
really give your game personality.
Would I recommend this game? Ooh.
Oh, fuck no.
On-
That's a hard one.
mm, Only to my friends who are like into old school stuff.
Yeah, or anyone who's like a really hardcore From Software fan.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
hey, look at this game and the characters and stuff. There are lots of things that later inspired things in your favorite franchise, Demon Souls and Dark Souls, like The Crow.
We
And
are also at some point gonna have to take a look at From Software's other PS2 RPG, Eternal Ring. It's a
oh yeah,
really strange experience.
I've heard some pretty mixed things.
Oh yeah, it's a mixed bag of mixed nonsense. It is literal nonsense, but it's really charming and convoluted nonsense. The
Oh,
kind of 90s dungeon crawler everybody loves in a 3D environment.
do you think Evergrace was convoluted?
I don't. I think Evergrace did give you the option. Did it had some fetchy moments, collect the orbs from the nest for the door, and you could only get them in a specific order. You couldn't just pick them up wherever you knew they were. There
Oh,
were moments like that where they dragged things on a little bit too long. That whole castle segment with the doors is
oh yeah, don't even get me started. The castle
tedious.
smeg and like if you do decide to play Evergrace, there are only two sections I recommend you have a walkthrough handy, and that is the fucking door segment and the lava segment. Because the first time I came across that lava monster, I was like, what the fuck do I do?
Took the blarg right out of my mouth.
And then I was like, oh, I used the ability float and I flew over the lava. And I was like, that's cool. But then I pulled up a walkthrough and they did it completely different. And I was like, that's cool. You have alternate paths. That's really cool.
Ye-
But then I got to the other side and I was like, where is the alternate path?
We did that thing with the castle. You took the appropriate route to float over the poison in the castle, and I just kind of yeeted through it, used antidotes and
Well,
healing items.
I ended up just yeeting over it anyways. I just
Yeah.
wanted to try to have that authentic 2000s PS2 experience. I took myself
Looking
out.
for how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I took the mechanical brain out of me and I was like, I'm gonna approach this like I would have when I was 10 or 8.
I wouldn't have wasted my time looking when I was 10. I didn't discover the shop until I had spent way too much time on that poison segment. So by the time I discovered the shop and I discovered antidote, I was like, that's the way. Just fucking brute force it until it works.
Oh, the whole game is brute forcing.
Yeah.
It's trial and error, which is the worst mechanic you could possibly do, and brute force.
There are some moments where things just sneak up on you that you're not prepared for, things that drop a curse on you.
Oh
the
yeah,
fucking the things that you can't attack with a certain weapon, there's just a lot of yeah, as much as convoluted as that is, it is really impressive for the time.
I agree.
There was so much detail there.
I I I can't stop looking at things like Demon Souls and Dark Souls because when I was playing Evergrace, I just saw those parallels, and I was
Yeah.
really enthralled to see when From Software started doing this go back to the Firelink shrine, we're connecting these areas. And I was like, oh, this is going to be super exciting. I'm going to be able to come back to this Firelink shrine area. I forget the name of it. And then they kind of did that when you had to go get the royal outfit to fight the statue. But that was kind of the end of it. And I was like, oh, that's such a missed opportunity. But they didn't know then. Like that was going to be like an iconic thing in their repertoire moving forward.
Yeah, they just kind of rolled with it. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. And style really shows when developers get in their natural groove,
Yeah, I
when
agree.
they feel like they're working on a project that they actually want to work on. And Evergrace feels like that. Everybody who worked on it and put time and effort into it really gave a shit about what they were doing.
Yeah, like the animations were very fluid. Everything felt good. The enemy polygon count was really good. You could see that they took away from the landscape to make their enemies look more well defined, and that was really neat. And then they had the really big enemies, which was huge for me because you had games like Shadow of the Colossus, which were stupid polygon counts that took up the majority of the RAM.
Oh
And
yeah.
Evergrace was like, oh well, we'll just cut off the model at the legs and hide them in lava and this and that, and it really did work out because it made it really intimidating. I mean, once you learn the mechanics and that you can just stand at the edge of the concrete and just fucking
And
I mean, it's
It's amazing, right? Because before Evergrace, all From Software had really done were first-person dungeon crawlers.
right.
Such a drastic change away from what they were good at,
And I like
and
that.
they turned out to be good at it.
'Cause so many people look at the PS1 RPG that they did. That might be Elden Ring. I forget. I don't remember. It might have been PS2. And they say that's the original Souls-like, but after playing Evergrace, I disagree. I think a majority of the content, especially with how many things that were quote unquote
Yeah,
references, I'm going to say reverse references, existed in Evergrace. I think Evergrace is supposed to be the
the
original.
it's as close to the original Souls-like as we can come. It's as far back as we can trace the lineage of From Software's third-person action adventure games.
And I gotta say, like, big kudos on you finding it because that was really fun. But tell me something bad. Like, what experience did you have that wasn't just areas?
I hate runarounds. So, the entire quest structure of the beginning, the way the quests are carried out in the beginning,
Okay,
is it feels like a fetch quest. Go here, return here, go here, return here, go here, return here, and you cannot do any of these things out of order.
right.
I had the same problem with the orbs at the castle. I had the same problem getting through the ice cave the first time. It's just really mind-numbingly tedious sometimes. The amount of fetching going on.
The ice caverns for me is when the game got good.
Yeah, it is when it got good. But I by that point I had already had that sense of tedium in my head, so I was looking for it.
Gotcha. Like how they did the icicles in the ice cave, how you had to use your spells in order to get them to
Oh yeah,
fall. Really, really cool. And if you
really
timed it
cool.
right, you could hit the enemies that spawn below you and also get not souls or nothing like that, but you can clear it out. It was really
Hold
cool.
that thought. I need 10 seconds for a bathroom break.
Oh, you're good. I'm just gonna rant. Um, and if you guys don't know, a lot of people didn't like the Resident Evil remake, Resident Evil 2 remake, for the same reason, is that tedium of go here, get this, come back here, unlock something, and then do it again. It became a really annoying, very old school kind of mechanic that wasn't really for everyone. And I'm sure Red's gonna have something to say about this, and I'll bring it up to him to see what he has to say. But Evergrace does it in a way that is a little bit more aggressive, where you're not handed any opportunities to make different decisions. Like he said, with getting the orbs for making the light bridge, that you have to
Shit, I
participate.
ran.
You ran.
I ran.
Um, Getting the orbs for the bridge, like he said, it is annoying because you go to the nest, you grab the orb, you go back, the next orb's gone, and you have to run around and look for it, and then you find it and you go back, and then another orb's missing, and you're like, God damn it. And then you're
Yeah.
like, oh
Well,
well, I'm gonna hang on to this orb. I'm not gonna put it on the pedestal, and I'm gonna go look for the red one. But the red one doesn't spawn until you set it down and turn around and walk away.
yeah. And it takes way too fucking long. Way too long. A simple action, I like if you could hit the orbs in the order you choose, it would be the optimal speed run game.
Oh,
If you could do
absolutely.
anything in the order you chose, it would be the optimal speed run game.
Absolutely. The other thing I had kind of an issue with was incomplete armor sets.
Facts.
Okay,
There are
so
some things hidden in secret areas though and shit. Oh, there's some stuff that even I didn't find.
I even when I was going through some of the walkthroughs and stuff, and they were pointing out some of the secret items, after you complete an area, you could just buy it. There's
Yeah.
almost no reason. Like you could just farm it up real quick and then go buy it.
Yeah. Kind of
Um,
defeated the purpose of exploration after the fact.
yeah. Which I mean, fair. I mean, honestly, fair to the player. Like, hey, we're giving you 2 story arcs. It's limited armor supply, limited weapon supply. I get it. PS2 discs weren't the biggest. Uh,
And there
uh,
was more code in the game than there was anything else.
right.
Because there are just so many functional things going on.
There's a lot of if this, then that, long strings.
Yeah.
Like, if you put the orb down and walk this distance, the FOV pops this out, or depth of field rather, and then moves the item somewhere else.
Yeah.
A lot of that, which is a lot of long strings of code if
And
people didn't know.
yeah, and something worth remembering at that is code is a lot different now than it was then. It was even more complicated. We have
Yeah.
had so much time to optimize and change code and set standards, and that just wasn't the same for them developing for the PlayStation 2, which was already really hard to develop for because of the hardware.
I I have the perfect example, and it's with IFT, or if this then that. Referencing. You could just do quote referencing nowadays in your code. So you can write
Yeah,
one string and then give it a reference ID and then just reference the ID and then it'll just
yeah.
run that code. Making development, I'm not gonna say easier because it's hard, but in a sense easier.
We've come as far as finite state machines, bubble windows that are event based programming that some are extremely complex. Like S2 engine is just one of the most complicated FSMs I've ever seen. The code is just so much different now. There's that's what games like Resident Evil 4, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Evergrace, the amount of detail that went into them is
Insane.
unmatched
Yeah.
today.
Unseen. Like unreal even. Not Unreal
With
Engine,
such
but
a
it's
short amount of
unrealistic.
time.
Yeah.
They develop these games with such a short window of time every time they do that. Evergrace only came out 1 year after Eternal Ring.
Right. And I'm guessing that was a project that was on dev kits for probably 2 years. I don't know
Yeah.
when the PS2 dev kits shipped.
But even then, still a very small amount of time for such a massive project.
When you walked away, I had mentioned the tedium, and I used the Resident Evil 2 remake as an example of
Oh my
tedium.
god. It is
And
so
it
tedious.
is a very tedious game, right? Okay. So if you understand Resident Evil 2 as a viewer, you can understand how Evergrace plays. A lot of tedious back and forth,
Yeah.
which was the
You
worst part about the castle segment. The worst. We did not need long drawn out hallways.
and you know what? Multiple floors didn't make it any fucking better.
No, the ice tower thing that you were in was
Yeah.
awful. And the whole time, I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What is my goal? And then I would do something and something would happen. I'd be like, this has to be it.
Boss fights felt kind of underwhelming after I figured out how they worked.
But they were
Good.
satisfying.
Well designed.
Satisfying is the word I would
Satisfying.
use.
They're
Well
big
designed,
fucking
yeah,
creatures too. There was a lot of detail in the monsters they used for the bosses.
but exploitable. Easily
Yeah.
exploitable. I could see, an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old from that time period playing this game and being like, "Oh, this is super fantastical," and then an adult playing it and being like, "What do you mean? This is you could just cheese everything."
Yeah.
Like even right in the beginning, you could completely break your character with maybe an hour of grinding.
But that's something that an experienced gamer would know. It's not a baby game like Sonic Heroes where you can hold forward the entire time and smack the A button in repetition and succeed.
Like I just explained during my Fallout 3 playthrough of how Fallout 3, although it's a good, well-written game, is mechanically a disaster.
You can beat the game in minutes.
Yes. It took
Yeah.
me 4 hours and I beat it at level 12.
Fallout New Vegas took advantage of that, made sure that even though you could beat it in minutes, everything you did in the world affected that ending, so there was a reason to fray off.
Yeah. And I'm currently working on a path for Fallout New Vegas to beat it as fast as I can.
It's good shit. If you can just sneak through Deathclaw Quarry without getting fucking snonked on, I've beaten Fallout New Vegas in about an hour.
I'm thinking I can do it in 2 hours using the Yes Man ending because it seems to be the fastest, but the problem with the Yes Man ending is it requires the most exploration.
You actually don't even have to talk to any of the other warring tribes. You can just come straight back to Yes Man, be like, they weren't interested.
I'll have to explore that. Interesting. Because he gives you like 14 quests, so if I can
Yeah,
just find
you
a
can
way
just
to
skip
exploit
through
it.
most all of those. You can
Start
just tell him that none of them are interested in you and that you just want to take it alone.
Because from what I understand, it's pretty much get 2,000 caps, go to Van Graff, kill the first two guards, steal the armor, give the armor to Veronica, go to Tops, kill Benny, get the platinum chip, go to Yes Man, and then you can pretty much finish the game from there.
because of the path I take and how much EXP I get over that course, I don't even need to get 2,000 caps to get into the strip. If your science skill is high enough, by the time you arrive at the strip, you can talk down the security guard and he'll just let you in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have more to explore. I mean, we're talking about New Vegas, but
There's a lot. There's a lot of extreme diversity. There's always a way to do it faster.
we're talking about RPGs, so it works.
Yeah.
Go play Fallout New Vegas. It's literally a masterpiece.
More importantly, if you're interested in it, go play Evergrace because it's pretty good if it's your thing.
Yeah,
But if you're the casual gamer, or even the retro casual gamer who likes old games but doesn't like old games that'll kick your ass if you don't know what you're doing, don't play Evergrace. Just
my best way of recommending it would be um, A, if you're a fan of From Software, B, if you want to see the roots of From Software, and C, if you want to see how like early RPGs were handled and why we've moved away from that.
yeah. Yeah, we've come a very long way, and as revolutionary as it was for the time, we don't need to be that game anymore.
No, we
It's
don't.
worth looking at, but it's not worth recreating.
And I understand there is an argument that almost all RPGs are just glorified fetch quests. And I'm not going to say that they're wrong because the argument is skip the dialogue. They say if you just skip the dialogue, you'll realize that you're just going from A to B, A to B, A to B. You're just doing the same tedium. But
What makes that so much worse in Evergrace is that you do so many things in a small space in such a short amount of time that it takes for fucking ever.
and there's no payoff in the lore.
Yeah, there's no A to B really outside of walking a few steps out of your way to do something in order because the game just wanted to take longer.
Like the one time that gave me hope was when you needed to get the Royal Guard helm. And I went all over the place. I'm like running around. I'm like, where do I get this goddamn helmet? And then I went to the lake and I was like, oh, that makes sense. I'm an idiot.
I found it on accident way early on and didn't even think I would need it, so I wound up fucking yeeting it at the shop.
That's a bug then, because you're not supposed to be able to sell any of the royal equipment.
No, yeah, you're not supposed to be able to sell any of the royal equipment, but if you come across the royal equipment early and it hasn't registered that you need that quest item, it'll let you yeet it because you can sell them
No,
long after the fact.
that's so sad.
Yeah,
Were you able to get a second one?
yeah,
Okay.
you just buy it back.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, that is cool though. It's a cool mechanic that if you sell something, you could just buy it back. The only thing you'll lose. Oh, I had an interesting bug. Um, I didn't have to use any Palmyra ore to upgrade my equipment.
That's funny. I was farming the shit.
Really.
Yeah.
I had 7, started upgrading my equipment, realized I had 7 still, sold it all, and upgraded everything else. So, like, when I say I was broken, there is a glitch in the lava section where if you enter the shop and then exit the shop, one of those arachnids will respawn. But the problem is it's non-persistent loot. So as long as you do your timings correctly, it will always drop red fruit every single time.
And that is such a stat breaking mechanic. Dropping they didn't they needed to figure out a way to limit it to a single area and they just couldn't.
I
You know,
don't
like
know.
what a certain amount per area per playthrough would have been the right way to handle it, but that would have also been a ton of complexity.
You could see that they were stepping away from the Final Fantasy experience-based system that was pretty popular at the time. I mean, I believe Persona was even using the experience-based system. And
They
they were,
wanted you to feel like you were using the resources they gave you to get better.
yeah. And I didn't understand the fruit system at first because at first I didn't see the fruit of my labor. But then I got to the end of the game and I have 50 across the board, 50 stat across the board, and I'm walking up to enemies with maxed out swords and maxed out armor, and it's one hitting them, and I'm like, what is the point of combos? Like if
Yeah.
I just one hit everything. You have that little enemy rush at the end of the game, making your way to Morpheus for the first time. Or not, no, that was the Colosseum. making your way to the labs the first time, well, the only time, and I was just laughing the whole time because those skeleton dudes would appear, and I would just swing my sword once and kill them, and I was like, this is bad. Like, this isn't
Yeah.
good. Like, this isn't Bloodlines bad. Assassin's Creed Bloodlines bad, but this is bad. Like, this is an oversight. Which
All
was
things considered, the oversights pretty much balance out with the good things.
makes it charming, right?
Yeah,
There you go.
it's an era piece.
It's an era piece. I mean, it really is like a masterclass of information. Like, there is just so much in this game from so long ago that modern developers could learn from.
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
to
not
tell a
just modern
narrative.
developers could learn from. Yeah, even long-standing veteran developers could look back on this and learn a thing or two.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. Yeah. Understanding, like, what does the player want? How do we set up events in the game that challenge your way of playing the game? Um Using Crush on the broken pillar. That took me longer than it should have. And then when I did it, I not only felt satisfied, but I felt stupid. But it's things like that that, a lot of modern developers could learn from, especially in the indie space. Make your player work for it, but not too hard.
My favorite thing about point-and-click adventure games, you have to stretch for logic.
Yeah.
You gotta work for it.
Yeah. And I think that carried over into Evergrace very well. You like that point and click style um, puzzle solving aspect.
Yeah.
And Evergrace does have that in a way with mostly the world events.
Oh yeah, it appeals to me. That's the appeal of Easter egg hunting is the exact same.
Yeah. I think somebody should go through Evergrace and do like a whole reference guide. Like, this is what was used in Dark Souls. These are the crows that are, inspired the crows in Dark Souls 1. I think that would be really cool. I don't think it's like a connected universe or anything, but just to recognize from software's older titles like that would be really cool.
Oh yeah.
There's
Also, can I just point out the kid from Bastion is totally the kid from Evergrace?
oh my god. You think the guy from Bastion is Darius?
Oh yeah, they're the exact
Really?
same. Look at them side by side.
That is too funny.
The exact
Oh
same character.
my god. It is uncanny. That is so funny. I need to play Bastion again.
Fucking excellent game. Amazing.
That's that's what I was trying to explain the other day. Is like, I'm playing these games that I've already done on YouTube because I did them on Twitch, and it's like, oh, I did them on Twitch and I didn't back them up, and now I have to replay them. But I love these games, so it's okay.
Yeah. There's plenty of fucking good reason to go back to a game you enjoy, and if you really enjoy a game, you always walk away from it with something new.
Coming back to Evergrace, would you go back to play the other character if you hadn't?
Oh yeah. I still have intention to do that actually. I played through the beginning portion and need to go back and finish that playthrough.
Nice.
Same thing with Scarlet Nexus. I still have to play through it as you because I
Right.
did the other one.
Right. Same. I want to go back, but at the same time, I'm just like, I'm not
I think
ready.
yeah, I'm not ready to play more Scarlet Nexus. I still am saturating on that experience and just appreciating that I went through it as much as I did.
Oh, it was a absolutely wonderful game.
Oh yeah.
You want a fun modern take on RPGs? Play Scarlet Nexus.
You want a fun, better Kingdom Hearts? Play Scarlet Nexus.
Truth.
And it makes more sense, even being a time travel story.
By the power of
Makes
believing, my friends.
yeah. Through the power of cat ears.
I gotta give cat ears to all of my teammates. They all need tails.
Yeah, exactly.
Sonic Frontiers.
Evergrace, 9 out of 10 need more furries.
What is your rating of Evergrace? Like, total
I,
100% dead honest.
I give it a 6.5 out of 10.
My score's higher? I gave it a 7
I
out of 10. I thought it was pretty good.
yeah, I think it's great. It's definitely above average.
Interesting.
not not my favorite experience, but an experience I'm glad I had.
Agreed. Yeah. What's next for the podcast? What do you think?
Uh, if we spilled now, there would be no excitement for viewership.
Well, you know how we are. I will
What
see
if
if
I
you.
played through Sonic and the Dark Brotherhood?
No. My God, Sonic, what are you doing in Elder Scrolls? Gotta go fast.
Gotta assassinate.
I I really want to cover Oblivion.
I'm down to talk about Oblivion. I have thousands of hours in it.
Me too. It's one of those games where I have this like crazy fandom for, but at the same time I am so overly critical of how bad it can be.
Oh yeah, it's just there are some things, break the law on my watch.
Watches weren't invented. Lord. Oh my God.
You have coined Khajiit has wares.
Elder Scrolls, Fallout, like there are so many fucking inconsistencies with that they're just like, don't look at that. And it's like, no. Just
Big up Microsoft for taking the initiative to try to fix some of it. That's why I'm kind of hyped for Starfield.
Oh, fun fact, if you play Fallout 3, any of you, when you go visit Rothschild at the Citadel, they added one of the computers, they added a Fallout 76 Easter egg.
That is super due after all these years,
Yeah.
Microsoft out here fixing every single one of Bethesda's fuck ups.
14 years. 14.
You love it. You love to see it.
When I saw that, I nearly wept. I saw somebody refer to a PlayStation 2 horror experience as retro today. And I was like, nah, 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 nah. That is classic. Don't you dare.
Like, you got your Ataris and Magnavoxes and IBM PCs in the vintage department. Then you got your 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, and 64-bit consoles in the retro department.
Thank you. That's what I said. Oh my God. I was like, no, stop. I'm not that big of a boomer. I also want to do Evil Within.
Oh, I love the first one. I love the first one. So I have mixed feelings about the second one.
I have mixed feelings about both.
I was the guy. I was the guy defending the Evil Within one when it came out. I was the only person I felt like who enjoyed it, who really appreciated it for the fact that Shinji Mikami came back, was like paying homage to himself and his team members that worked with him throughout the years, and he managed to make a really fucking good game.
Let me just clarify for everybody in the community. Red and I weren't friends when Evil Within came out. We had not met. I
Nope.
was also defending Evil Within. I was working at an arcade, and people were like, "Is it really that good?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's really good. Play it. It's really
Yeah.
good."
A fucking excellent time. It's a little weird sometimes, the story's kind of all over the place, but the gameplay itself, solid. The visuals, the best at the time. It was,
Easily, yeah.
yeah. I remember playing it for the first time in 2014, thinking I had never seen anything like it before. On my Xbox 360, it looked incredible.
Right.
It looked so good that it fried my power brick.
I think I had an i4, or I'm sorry, i5 4400K, and I want to say an RX 470 at the time. And I had played it, and I was like, wow. Like, just absolutely awestruck at the beauty of Evil Within 1. I was like, I've never seen anything like it.
In Markiplier's playthrough, he said the same thing. He said he had heard people complaining about the visuals and shit like that from the outside in, and he got in and he loved it the same. It's just
Yeah.
one of those things that, like, when you see it in real time for yourself and you get to pay attention to everything, Really beautiful game.
Well, we talk about this quite often, but we never really go too deep into it. So I'll try to connect this back to Evergrace. One of the really important things as a game developer is also frame timing. And when you're
Yeah.
producing a third person shooter, first person shooter, or something that's really important with timing, Evergrace, their frame timing was mint. If you fuck up, it's your fault. But it also makes the game feel good, which lets your imagination flow because you're less focused on the controls. You're just letting your immersion occur naturally. And that's what
Yeah.
even Evil Within did. It was so smooth.
Evergrace was too once you got used to it. It's not
Exactly.
like it was clunky and hard to navigate. It was
No.
just different for the time, a little bit slow. Walking instead of running is not something that I was used to. So
Right.
it took adapting, and you adapt and overcome to a situation like that. And it's not like I can't be as heavily opinionated as I can about fixed cameras because this is a scenario in which the controls genuinely work.
Right.
I'm always the first guy to say fixed camera survival horror controls do in fact work, and tank controls are good. You're just bad at playing them. But the real truth of the matter is it's a matter of coordination. Not everybody can coordinate themselves that way.
I
Whereas in a
agree.
game like Evergrace, anybody could coordinate themselves.
It's just
Anybody could build a flow around it.
Yeah, it's just running around that open area, playing around with the few little enemies in the beginning. I mean, yeah, it took me a little bit to understand like the attack situation and how the stamina affected your damage output and things like that. But once I had it down, I was like, "Oh, I got this." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't play that many retro games, do I?
No.
Okay. Well, in this case, it's not retro, it's classic, but you know what I mean.
Eh, no, you don't play that many, and when you do, you typically play ones that are way worse than this.
Very obscure, bad games are fun.
Oh yeah.
I that's something that I found really important to my experience too. Is like I'm playing PS2 title. I have it cranked to 4K, 16x antis filter, whatever it's called. It's too late for me. Um, I have it buffered. I have it all of this. Like I have everything cranked to the max on my emulator, and it is still a consistent 60 FPS, 1 millisecond frame timing. That just tells me that this is coded extremely well.
Yeah. It works. It's so polished.
It
Is a
is.
great word for
It
it.
really is.
I don't use that word very often. Many things are left unpolished, even in polished video games. So it's easy to throw that word around and have it mean the wrong thing. But in this situation, it fits. It works. The game is just really polished.
In the mechanics spot.
Yeah,
When it
in the
comes to
mechanics spot.
level editing and level building,
No
oh
way. That should
man.
be fucking terrible, man. I've seen better map layouts from kids using Copper Cube.
Oh my god, right? But we hound on level design these days. Like people, everything is all about: is it consistent? Does it flow well? Does it make sense? Is your architecture logical?
Is the gameplay teaching you as much as a tutorial could?
Yes, no tutorial. When it just threw me into the game after the cutscene, I was like, "Let's go!"
Yeah, you're just there, and the game is going, and you're just in it.
There's a tutorial window, but it's
I
optional.
I don't like Mega Man very much, but my favorite thing about the first couple Mega Man X games were how they introduced you to the gameplay mechanics. Throughout all three of them, no matter if you were a new player or had played through them already, they were introducing you to everything, what was the same and what was different. And they didn't give you tutorials or Rock yelling at you over and over again on an intercom. They gave you the game, and that was it.
Cuphead, take notes. If you make another game, use the
No
first level.
tutorials.
Use the
Yeah,
first level.
that whole tutorial segment in Cuphead was so unnecessary.
Immersion breaking right out of the gate.
Yeah.
As soon as I loaded up Cuphead for the first time, I was like, "What? Why? Why? It's a Metroidvania boss slayer. Like anybody who's playing your game knows how to play it."
Side-scrolling bullet hell. Have you ever seen a Contra game?
Right.
Like,
I don't want to get into a tangent, but I will say this: Evergrace stands on its own. It's a very unique RPG that I really can't connect to anything else right now. It it really is a one of a kind of game.
Agreed.
It,
This is nothing else like it.
if you're a gamer and you want to see something very different, play Evergrace.
Especially if you are somebody who like has played through a lot of the most well-known obscure indie or obscure PlayStation 2 or Xbox original titles, somebody who is really into exploring the more obscure games and keeps ending up on garbage. This is a good direction to turn.
I agree. It's still garbage, but it's better garbage.
It's the garbage at the top of the stack. It's fresh garbage.
What do they call that? The bargain bin. They call that
Yeah.
bargain bin gaming.
It's equal to that stack of Max Payne 3 copies at your local Walmart.
Yeah, you and I had a conversation about this. Because I was like, Max Payne 3 is a bad game, and you were like, well, it's not that it's a bad game.
It doesn't fit in with Max Payne. It's not written very well, but the gameplay
Very solid.
solid.
I
The map design very solid.
I was gonna say, shooting's good, but the story structure and where it takes you is kind of blah.
Yeah. Not the
More
best
boat
story.
sequences.
That that boat sequence only lasts like 20 minutes. It's not
Long
the worst
enough.
thing in the world.
Where's my hold X to skip?
Listen, static turrets are bad in every video game. Always.
Huh?
Developers, if you take a game that gives you freedom of movement for such a long time and in the middle of it stop them from moving and stick them in one spot, it's a bad game. It's a
And
bad moment in what could be a good game.
it's like a car accident. You're just so jarred from like
Yeah.
what you were doing. Just, boom.
They
Oh,
ripped
okay.
you out of your flow entirely.
And it's always when you're like peaking your flow. You know what I mean? You're like at peak flow, and then it's just like on rail segment.
Yeah. Max Payne 3 is exactly like that. You fight your way through so much shit and it just starts getting really good when they throw the boat at you
And you're like,
and they expect you to
yay.
just be okay with it. Like,
I know we already covered Resident Evil 5, but there were a couple
oh
segments in
god.
Resident Evil 5 where it's the same thing. You get that flow state and then they just throw you off.
There's
And then you get that
no
flow state and they throw you off.
there was no reason to have an on-rails shooting section in Resident Evil 5. I love that game to bits, but my god, do I hate that moment.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy you're saying that. I'm not alone.
I can't stand fucking turret sections. Ride to Hell Retribution. One of the worst games ever made, almost like a middle finger to you right out of the gate. The first piece of gameplay is a turret section.
Battlefield 4.
Battlefield 4.
Incredible game. Fucking incredible. After the driving segment in the beginning. Everything after that is fun. I understand that the entire single player is a tutorial for the online. I get it. But it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to just beat the game and then hop in the first mission with a sniper rifle and go through the whole game with a sniper rifle. It's fun to grab a shotgun and just go fuck everything up with a shotgun. Battlefield 4 did campaign right, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Same thing with Halo. When you can bring your weapons across levels, it's good. Halo, there's no on rail sections. I mean, you have the end of the game, but then it feels right. You get a break. You get to see all the chaos happen around you. You're not actively creating it.
Resident Evil Village. Spoiler alert.
Uh-oh.
Resident Evil Village during the Heisenberg fight gives you an awesome vehicle to use. And I'm so glad they didn't just make that an on rails shooting section because they could have very easily and totally fucked up that whole thing.
That's
They
good.
had a history of doing that in big moments like that before.
Mm-hmm.
And just giving you full control over the vehicle itself is probably one of the best decisions they made.
But you know what? Evergrace doesn't have any on rail segments.
Nope, not a single one, except for the quest. The quest is literally on rails.
It's a very linear structure.
Yeah.
About-
There's a lot of choice and things to do and ways to go about it, but no matter what, the quest is on rails.
Well, what I found was every single quest resolves the exact same way. You could use a different weapon, you could use different armor, you could level up differently, but it always resolves identically.
Yeah. It is
Um,
as on rails as the Final Fantasy 13 story.
wow, got him. Final Fantasy X Windows Edition.
Final Hallway 13.
um, Man, I don't know. Like Evergrace, it's just this is gonna be one of those games that goes down in my library as like just special to me. Like this is just gonna like same thing with Assassin's Creed Bloodlines. Like I know I make fun of it a lot, but it's special to me because
Yeah.
it challenged my way of playing, it challenged my way of thinking, it challenged my understanding of mechanics, and it did things different.
Yeah. For a PSP game of the time, it wasn't the worst thing in the world either. It was only later on when we recognized just how shit it was.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean that's to be said about a lot of the Assassin's Creed games. You know, when the Assassin's Creed games initially come out, it's not that they're bad games. It's when you realize the mechanics and you realize the tedium that is implemented to keep you playing, you
They
realize, oh,
become
this
bad
isn't
games.
a very good game.
Yeah.
When you see the
That's my whole
fallacies.
Ubisoft games in general. They follow the same formula: capture the towers in the open world and take down the bad organization and
Well,
stuff. And it's the exact same structure. You capture radio towers or Eagle's Nests or whatever game franchise it is, and then you chase somebody around for a little bit, and then you come up on an area and take control of a territory. And that's what kind of why I liked Assassin's Creed Revelations. It had the tower defense segments, which were a totally different game in and of itself.
yeah. Well, our audience can be happy knowing that I'm not going to be letting us choose Ubisoft until they fix their management.
Yeet. Fuck
Hashtag
Ubisoft.
boycott. Hey, you guys should do a Call of Duty game. No.
Special
Raise the
guest
roof.
appearance by Chris.
I have him muted for now. Sorry, Chris. um, but we're reaching the end. I'll let Chris say hello. Say hi, Chris.
Hello, everyone. It
Welcome to
me.
Game Theory.
Oh, we just got sued. And again.
Listen, I love Matt Pat and I'm a fan. Please don't sue us.
Oh, I love MatPat. I was just watching some of their other stuff, their side content that they don't put on any of the theorist channels. Yes, that exists. Look deeper, you can find it. Um, and I have some ideas for some stuff I want to do with you too. Some exploring some ARGs as a group kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any closing statements though about Evergrace?
I will return to this game in approximately 5 years. Roughly 5 years, when I've fleshed it out of my system completely. And when I start remembering everything about it, I hope my second experience is even better than my first.
That is from the heart. Wow. Very honest. I have no idea when I'm going to do the Charlene playthrough because part of me doesn't want to, and then another part of me does. So don't hold your breath if you're subscribed to my channel.
A real moment of indecision.
I don't know what to tell them. You know what I mean?
Stay tuned for other stuff.
Definitely. Racing Lagoon.
Yeet. That is
Eventually.
gonna be weird.
So what do we got on the chopping block then? Maybe some Oblivion.
Yeah, Oblivion's
Maybe
very new.
maybe Evil Within. Maybe. Maybe Legend of Zelda Master Quest.
Maybe. That's
Maybe.
the one I'm very excited for. Maybe. And I don't know how you feel about it. Maybe. Jet Set Radio.
Oh, which one?
First one. Not Future.
No, we gotta do Future. It's the
Well,
definitive
I
edition.
I love Future, but I want the raw original experience. I
Oh,
want our conversation about the raw original experience. We can gush and shit on fucking the first one and love Future all day, and that's easy, low hanging fruit.
You want to know what's sad?
Hmm.
I fucking despise the first one for the Dreamcast. I think it's probably one of the worst games on the Sega Dreamcast. Have you played it recently?
Not not since I bought it on Steam last year for a couple minutes.
Boy, you got to get the ROM for the Sega Dreamcast and play that one. You can't be playing the fixed version that's using the Future engine. You got to play the OG.
Yeah, I know. I know. I want the raw experience. I gotta fucking be a part of the raw experience.
That's you do. Yes, you do. Because boy, no good. That didn't no good. No good.
Play us off, Johnny.
Subscribe.